Okay, now let's go back to the design center. Now we are done with the design, and the next step we have done testing also. What is that? Using mock service. Now once you are fine with that testing mock service, we have to publish that API to the exchange center. That also we have covered in the previous session. Okay, then what is the next step for us? As an API design, right? We have to develop the code. Once we are design the API, according to the API, we have to provide the real-time implementation. As we could see here in the Exchange Center, that is just a mock data. Means user can see user once the user perform operations on this employee API, right? He can just see only the mock data. He cannot see the real data, right? Because it is not connected to the backend system. When he requests for get all employees post or whatever the operations, right? He could see only the mock data, means dummy data, what have been mapped it here during API designing. Now let's jump into any point studio here. Now what we see here, we have the option called while create new mul project. Give the project name is what the API is meant for. Right? Employee API is the API. You could see here we have number of options available. Okay, download ramal from design center. So you can download the ramal from design center and go ahead with that. Okay, import ramal from local. This is what we have discussed in the previous session. I showed you, right, that you once you download from the design center, you could see the zip file, right, that you can upload and go ahead with the project creation. Another option is online, import a published API. Okay, we'll go with this option. How do we do this? We will see this in this video. Let's, before we go this, first see that what it is saying, this API implementation. What is that API implementation? Say add an API implementation to your project to automatically set up an API kit router and create placeholder flows for each resource method. What do you mean beside that? If we have designed the API with some number of methods, right? All these called as a resource method. So what it is saying, it create the placeholder flows for each resource, which means how you have designed the API, how you constructed the API, it will automatically create default flows for you to make you understand more clear on that. This we call it as a scaffold flows. So scaffold flows from these API specifications. Let's see how this happens. Click on this plus mark from Exchange, because the API is available on the Exchange. As I showed you, right, here, if the account is not available for you, right, by default this will not be available, then say click add account. Then a pop-up window is open with any point platform credentials. Here enter username, password, then you sign in. This will automatically list here. Once you see your credential, then search for your API. It will directly connect to your any point platform and get the list of options and grid of APIs which matching to this keyword. Select this, the required one, add. Then finish. So once you finish, then it will load all the required dependencies, libraries, etc., okay, to create the scaffold flows. Once we start implementing this API, right, we will have some more models, right? If it is a database connector, file connector, depend on the implementation, those libraries will get added here. I will show you that how it will. So here we have tested this using client ID, client secret. We are able to get the data as expected, and on the header parameters, mandate parameters are client ID and client secret, and we don't have any other headers apart from these two. Okay, in general, this client ID and client secret will be optional for us to test, but in real-time scenarios, right, this has to be taken from the access management, because wherever you are deploying this application, which environment you are deploying this application, right, in that environment you have to check for security. You see here we have two different environments, right? There's a sandbox or design center. So this client ID and client secret has to be mapped. How, right? Once you deploy the application in any point platform, this has to be mapped. This will be automatically mapped because you have deployed the application in this environment. So this has to be taken right now. Okay, right now we are not doing anything. We are testing with the mock data. So that is not a real time. Let's wait for 1 minute. It's taking time. Any services are running. Okay. Next, it is uploaded all the dependencies. It is saying running scaffolder. It will not take this much time, maximum 1 minute, because due to some system configuration, right? It need additional RAM support. Now it is having 8 GB. If you have 16 GB, right, you cannot wait for this. Within maximum 1 minute, you get this flows generated. But Anusha and Sirsha, you see this one? Hello?
Yes, sir.
As you see this, see the flows are automatically created for us. You see that how many resources we have designed in the API. See, get all get employees, right? Sorry, this get all employees. This is the first method we did, right? Then get employees by ID. This is one API, and post employees. Then delete. Output is update. So according to our API designing, it automatically generate the flows with the dummy data, means dummy mapping. See what we have designed, how we design, right? The same way it generates a flow. This is called as a scaffolding. So it clearly build the mapping path also. See for put what it is expecting, employee slash employee ID, right? But what is before put, what you have to call, right? Here it will say the listener will be automatically generated. This we call it as a main flow. All the requests will go here and it will automatically traverse with the help of API kit router. This API kit router is the one which takes delegate the incoming request. Say what is that name config and say where name, say status, say everything, it comes with the default. Here you no need to change anything. This simple HTTP to understand in this detail, right? We'll drag these components and create this manually. At that time you will understand. I will explain you how this is working. Right now you leave this one, but you can understand this HTTP listener is the starting point and source where it accepts the incoming request and delegate the request or invoke the particular method based on the syntax we provided here. Okay, let me see this now step by step. No worry. Let's go to the Postman. That is the tool we are used for testing. You understood, right? Here you have not done anything. You once you design the API, just import that from Exchange, then this flows will automatically generated. Then you have to start writing the real code. You could see here then for one API, we see that without starting our server, right? Just say get all employees. Say for get all employees, we are sending client ID and client secret as a headers. But what you expect here? You expect two records or some records, whatever the mock data we give inside, this will come. First, we will test with the mock data and then write the real-time coding, which means then we'll connect to the real system. There's a backend system as a MySQL, Oracle, or thereby whatever the database you have available, we connect to that and pull the data from the backend system. Before that, just start this project. How do you start this one? Just right click here and just run project employee, because this is the where we have opened this file. If you want to debug, select the option debug project, right? I will show you that how you debug and what you can see that this debug will help you to troubleshoot, right? To diagnostic any issues that are raised during our flow, because sometimes we do not know what is happening, where it went wrong. So that case, we know that we have assumption that this flow might be some issue, or this event in this flow, this event might be something wrong. Something is wrong from this when the request flows from this event to this event. So that scenarios we have to start with debugging. I will show you how to see that debugging, what data you can see, where you can see that. Okay, let's start as we discussed, and you just make sure you have to know what is the port that is generated for this flows. So by default, listener will generate 8081. All these are default and standard ports will be generated. You see here 8081 and 80 or 82, maximum 99%. 8081 is the port, and host is the all interfaces. It says 0.01, 0.0 means that is your local host, and protocol right now it is generated HTTP. So we have to build the URL according to that. As say HTTP is the protocol and local host, and what we see is port 8081 is the port. Then what we are going to test, first method, first we'll test get all employees, how it looks, what is the mapping available. Get, just say get method, we have to select get method, HTTP method, and say /employees, because we have already constructed the base URL. How the endpoint looks is just say /employees. You have to just say give /employees, then hit the send button, then you get the result. Before that, let's see that whether the server is up or not. This has to be deployed. You could see here, so number of things are happening here. And one more thing we want to say here, see if the project is running means that it required some libraries to start on, right? Like JRA. So this JRA is a system JDK that what we have given in the environment variables, it pick from there. You can change it also, no issue. By default, it pick from the environment variables. And you see here, my employee API. So this is what the ramal.js. When you download it from the design center also, you could see this format. If you extend that, expand, then you could see what are all we have designed, how we design this ramal API, everything you can see here, right? See here all the things, how you design, why it will helpful here, right? While implementing the API, while developing the API, if you do not remember what header parameters you are expecting and how it is going to be structured, how you implement, then this will help you to go back and say I'm expecting header parameters are mandatory. But what are these header parameters? It's there for coming from the common lib. Again, you can go back and see that common lib and open that file. So, right, these are client parameters. It is mapping. Oh, I'm expecting client ID and client secret as a header parameters. Okay, this is just for you to review and what you want to and how you want to implement the API. And next thing is right, to work to serve this HTTP request, we need some library, right? That we call it as a HTTP, right? This we say, then we need some common slang library, which is comes as a part of inbuilt with mul HTTP connector. Means it serves for all our HTTP request response, and mul model course kernel means it is a dependency for this. Like Spring Boot, you already know that if you add any web dependencies, all the jar files associated to that web dependencies will automatically download and available for you to use the project, right? The same way, this will automatically download all the required dependencies for us and before our project getting ready here. So here you see all the things what are required already. All the jar files will automatically download and store into our repository, mul repository, right? See here it is doing many things for us. If you have time and once you are clear with all the implementation, you start looking at these files, what it is doing, right? It is not mandatory, right? But if you understand this, it is good for you in future. It is doing many things. You cannot just understand in no in one simple steps. It takes time for you. If you don't understand also, you just leave that. The only thing is what actually doing when you start any application, anything, right? It do some process, right? That process is called that. Okay, now application is deployed. Now let's go back here. Say hit this employees. What you could see 404 slash sorry. Here we have missed one thing. Here it is saying API slash employees in this listener. Here you see it is a API all API slash star. Means after API, whatever you give resource path will be according to the flow generated. Now you got the dummy data. See here, whatever we have designed, what mapped right, get employees. So this is what the message transform message is the component which will hold our output data. See here, this is saying output application slash JSON. Means how this data is structured, what format is that application slash JSON. This is the output displaying in the form of application slash JSON. And you could see this what values are displaying here, right? You see this output here. Output fields are this one. See here, location, age, anything. And input also we can use. That will be covered later. What is the use of this input? Right now we got only output. We have not sent the input here, right? That's what it will display by default with output structure. Now we will see this one more API employee slash employee ID, and then we go for the real-time database connectivities. Now you see this, what is the first transform message saying? It is expecting employee ID to be passed for this resource to get the employee details based on ID. But how it is getting the employee ID? It is a part of URI parameters. You know what is URI parameters is? Append to the URL slash and give the value like 6463. This we call it as a URI parameter, uniform resource indicator parameter, and these are query parameters, these are header parameters. This is the URI. Okay, now hit this one. See, you got this 6463 details, which means here based on the ID you passed as a URI param, then this output will be produced to you. This is dummy, right? Even if I give something also 12123 also it gives, because we are working with the mock data, right? This has to come from the backend system or any system, what the system you are using, where you are storing the data, right? to any storage location. It can be a database or cloud environment, no matter it could be, right? But we have to use the corresponding connector. Now let's jump to the database connectivity. Before that, make sure you have this MySQL workbench installed in your local. Just open this one, MySQL workbench. Then there you have to create the database. See, yeah, once you open that, right? Sorry, guys, Sirishan, once it is ended, right? Using the same link again, you rejoin. This is a free trial and it will be ended in 10 minutes. The moment it ends, right? It ends the meeting immediately. Join from the same link again.
Okay.
It's a development. I created a new schema. You can also create new schema, write your own schema by clicking this option. See, click this option and create, give your name, development or testing. For example, say testing I'm giving because I already have development, right? You just say create development, apply, okay? A new schema will be created for you. Then you can create a users for this. Go to servers, users and privileges. Here you have the option add account. You just say add account, give username, okay, password. Here you can give localhost and password, confirmation password, and say apply. Then account also will create it. These details we have to use across in our projects. How you use that I will tell them. In the development I already have created a one table here. And during the meeting, we cannot spend more time to, right? It takes time for us. And see the columns are available. What columns we have in this API, right? Employee ID, first name, last name, age, mobile, email, department, location, status. So the same number of fields I have created it here. And I have also inserted some data for you testing. So I have added two records, 6463, 6464 with Vishwanatha and Balakrishna. Okay, how you pull this data from this MySQL workbench? You have to write the code. So what is the first step? First, you have to go to the connector, let config. Right? First, I will show you in the hard coded. Later, as a best practice, we have to read that from one central location, means one common place. We cannot put all the configurations just like that. It should be clean, neat, right? As a real-time projects, right? If anyone wants to see, wants to change something, then they cannot go here and there. It should be available in one central location, in one common place as a global configuration. We call it as a global configuration, where we can put all the configurations related to our project in that place. So that I will show you later. You cannot directly jump into that level. Okay, first let's see how we use this configuration, database configuration, to pull this data. Now let's go with get employees on it. Now this is not needed anymore for us. What you do, just delete this one. Before delete, please stop your project, stop this project, say right click, say delete option, delete this component. Now you delete it. You say before we go for the flow creation, let's understand that what is our requirement, what is the flow you are trying to create, and according to that you have to drag the components. You cannot just think about that, right? First you have to think what your flow is, that what it is going to do, what things are needed for you, right? You have to document in your mind which flows will help me to do this particular task, so that my flow will be created with these components, right? So you have to understand about the basic usage of these components, right? We'll cover step by step, one by one. Instead of explaining each and everything here, right? While implementing the project, we'll discuss each component, what it is. right? Everything here listing is called as a mul components. Once we drag it here, right, that it is called a event processor. Means every mul component is doing some process that we call it as a event process. Means it is doing something. This is a transform message, right? See, you see this transform message, it's a data wave transfer component. See what it is doing, it is transforming the incoming message to the particular format. What format we have defined it here is JSON or Java or XML or CSV, anything, no matter. It is transforming. It will convert the incoming data. No matter from where it is coming the data. But what you are expecting, your output you are expecting in the form of XML, JSON, Java, CSV. According to that, you have to give that one. For JSON, you don't need to write any coding. But if it is XML, right, you have to write the minimal no syntax, because for XML, it is not straightforward. That need some format, right? Like a root is there, child elements, then data. Okay, no worry that I will show you how to design that, format that XML data. Now, first, coming to this flow, get employees. What we are trying here, we are trying to get the data. What data? Employees data. From where? From the database, right? Now, first, what we do that as a practice, right? First, you always put a logger here. What is this logger? It is just a component. Do nothing with that. You see this? It is a logger component. Component performs logging using an expression that determines what should be logged. By default, the current message is logged using the info level. In the logs, we have the levels info, severe, like debug, like that. By default, if you don't set the level, right, see it is here. All these levels, it will be the default. It says in the bracket is a default. Let's go with this default. Okay, if you don't print anything here, then it will log each and everything. Means from the HTTP, once you send the request from here, what things are it is capturing here, right? Everything will be printed in the logger. And if you want to see such inputs, then you don't give anything. Otherwise, if you want to display some custom message, say, we can say get all employees started. If we give such message, custom message, right, then this will be displayed. Let's see how it is different. If you don't give anything here, if you give custom message here, what is the difference? Okay, by as a practice, as a flow, at the beginning flow and the middle and end of the flow, we have to use the loggers, exception handlings, and to trace our flow. If something went wrong, how do you debug? Means debug is means not like debugging like that. Debugging skills are such a way that you should be able to identify the root cause. What is the cause and where it is causing that error, right? Like that. So at the first level, we will have the loggers. Loggers will help us what data it is printing, and once it comes here, it goes successful here, then it goes to next flow, then error is there, which means up to here all the flows, all these events are successfully processed. But when it comes to next flow, then I see the error, which means there is no issue within these two first flows. Then I have to look at only this one, because it is not moving forward from this component to the further components. So like that, it will help you to identify the issue in a simple way. Okay, that I will show you. Okay, no worry, that this is the purpose of the loggers. We have to that. Then what is the next step? You have to connect to the database. So to connect to the database, you need something, right? Connectivity should happen. That who will help us? We have a database connectors. You see database, if you type this one, you could see the number of options are available here. Say bulk delete. Say this bulk delete, when it happens, right? In there is a requirement in real time. No one will expect bulk delete, but this is very rare scenarios, but I still explain that. See, either bulk delete, insert, update, all these are to process the bulk data. Means bulk means large number of records are there, right? You just send all these records and it keep processing that, either insert, update or delete, right? It deletes in a single command, like how you use the truncate command in the MySQL or Oracle database or the backend system. Truncate table name. What it means, it directly delete, remove everything from the table in single command, like that the bulk delete and bulk insertion. So instead of inserting record by record, we have option to insert some hundreds, thousands of records in a single command in one statement. So that we call as a bulk insert. Same way, update data also. So these are rare scenarios. Okay, we'll go with the basic